Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Out of the Park 23 as the Minnesota Twins. And this is going to be our playoffs episode for 2028 and our 107 win Minnesota Twins. So, our first opponent will be the San Diego Padres after they got their sweep in the divisional round. And really, I think the biggest thing to talk about in this series specifically is the absence of the best pitcher in baseball, Connor Crisp, who had elbow inflammation in the end of September and was just absolutely absurd this year. 2.42 ERA, 17 and 7, 280 strikeouts, only 1.8 walks per 9. Absolute superstar pitcher, but is not available. So that gives us a pretty big advantage to work with. So hopefully we'll be able to take advantage of that. Because obviously that's part of the reason why their starter's ERA is so low, is the fact that it's 3.74 with having Connor Crisp's 200 dominant innings. I think kind of says something about the rest of their starting rotation. So we can go ahead and start there. You'll notice that they only have one pitcher above 2 WAR on their team, with Crisp's being injured. And that's Jesus Gonzalez, who we will only see once in this series because of the fact that they had to use Gonzalez and Wells, their two best starters during the year, in that first playoff series. So hopefully that can be a pretty big advantage for us. We'll get Sean Manaea in Game 1 and then Adrian Hauser in Game 2, because I think that it's pretty unlikely that Gonzalez will be at 42%. There's no way he's ready to go tomorrow. So we really need to take advantage of that, of getting our two studs in matchups where I have a very big starting pitcher advantage, is something that we need to close the door on. The back end of their bullpen is really good, it looks like. Tanner Houck, Luis Frias, I'm assuming they traded for one of these guys this year. They did not, so I guess they split up their saves quite a bit. That's interesting. But yeah, I mean, this looks like a pretty good bullpen. This guy has no innings pitched at the major league level, and he's on their playoff roster. That's a little interesting. But I mean, you can see here, there's a lot of guys. They must have used Luis Castillo as a starter a decent amount. He hasn't been super good this year. It looks like, this is his contract year, so he will be available in free agency, but he looks like he's pretty burnt at this point in time. So, yeah, I'll be curious to see what he actually gets on the open market next year at 36. But I'm guessing it's not going to be a lot if he's only 45 overall as a reliever. Obviously, Ronnie Enriquez, we traded them. Or no, we traded to New York, and then New York traded to him, to the Padres. That's right. Looks like he's had a pretty decent year out of the bullpen for them. Their lineup is not as good. It's like, yeah, I mean, Tatis is obviously a superstar. He is healthy again for now. He's wrecked. Has not had a lot of success staying healthy in this save. It's like 2 seasons above 100 games played is all that he has managed to achieve. And one of those is 107. So we'll kind of see, but obviously his rate stats are still absolutely incredible. Put up almost 4 WAR this year in 80 games. So yeah, him being around obviously is not super great for us, but other than that, not a ton to speak of. RJ Mayer has actually developed into a fairly decent hitter here. And is super good defensively. I don't know why they aren't playing him in center. Yeah, I mean, Trent Grisham is not as good of an outfielder as RJ Mayer is. That actually honestly makes me wonder if Mayers would be available in trade in the offseason to play center. I'm going to look into that. Where if we can acquire him to play center field, because I'm sure his center field is probably like 75. I would guess defensive rating. No, it's an 80. Yeah, we're going to try to see if we can make that happen in the off season. Well, we'll see where we're actually able to get. He's not even ARB eligible because he's 1 year and 42 days of major league service. So we'll see if there's a way that we can make that work. Machado looks like he was kind of fine, mostly good defensively. Grisham is below average with the bat. Oh, hey, Brooks Lee is here. Looks like they've kind of used him as, I'm guessing, mostly their second baseman this year. Yeah, has been kind of fine. Lots of people on this team have just kind of been fine. Juan Yepes, it looks like, has been one of their better hitters. So yeah, really, like, the bats here aren't something I'm super concerned about. I think if we're able to put up runs on this team, we should be able to win this series pretty easily. But obviously, it's the playoffs. It's a 5-game series basically, and we lost more games than we won against San Diego this year. I'd be curious. I think we did face Crisp twice in that, so what that kind of means, like, it's not free. Obviously, it's the playoffs. No series is ever free in the playoffs, but I think that if we lose this one, that would be disappointing. I think this is a team that, to me, is honestly kind of World Series or bust. So we'll see what happens. I'll be back shortly with the results of this first series. And we are back after the San Diego series, which was closer than these kind of numbers would tell you. So game one got off to a rough start where we give up 2 hits and a run on the first 2 batters. And it was sort of a little bit of a uh-oh, because we didn't get anything going for a little bit. But then Burns settled in. We were able to get 2 runs from Miranda and Atrian, both knocking in runs. And we didn't get a ton of offense in this one, just this one double from Correa that we weren't actually able to turn into anything. But Burns was good. Got into a little bit of trouble in the 8th that Duran came in and shut down. Yeah, 2 runners on. But yeah, this ends up being the closest game of the series, but it was still close games. So this one 8-4, where it was tied 3-3 going into the bottom of the 8th, where Cam Collier just had an absolutely massive game for us in this one. We pretty much just platooned him and Cabrera in this series, where Cabrera started the 2 games against the 2 lefties, whereas Collier starts this game against the righty in Hauser. And he hits a massive 2-run home run to give us the lead. And then after Gomez gives up a 3-run bomb in the 6th to fall behind, he then comes back and ties the game with a single in the bottom of the 8th. And then Baez puts the game away with the grand slam. So it's good to see Baez do that, where I brought him in to face the lefty. Ramos did get his 1 hit when the one matchup he got against the righty. But I do think we're going to just stick to Baez moving forward. He's had a very good series for us, and I think he is the better player, and I think the slump is hopefully over for him. But yeah, so massive game for Collier. Baez hitting the grand slam as well. Gomez was okay in this one. One of the runs was unearned. It was a pretty big error from Collier. Really 2 straight plays that he couldn't make of an error. This was the leading up to the 3-run home run. The error to put the guy on, but also isn't able to turn a double play that would have limited the damage there to just being a solo. It would have been a solo home run at that point for Yepes. So pretty big misplays from Collier in that one, which was unfortunate, but he had the massive offensive game to make up for it. Where we win the game 8-4, they did put together a threat in the 9th that made me turn to Karinchak I didn't want to risk losing the game. And then 8-3 in the deciding 3rd game, Collier gets named MVP just based off of game 2 exclusively. I think pretty well deserved for him at that point, because he pretty much did single-handedly win that game for us. I mean, along with that Baez grand slam, but Here we get off to a good start in the third inning. Blake Hunt hits a home run. Sanchez was pretty good for us. I definitely would not have started him in the seventh to give up that 2-run homer that he gives up there if the game wasn't 8-1 at that point. I mean, you can even see here, they only got 3 hits. It's not like they really did a ton of damage to Sanchez. Max Meyer came in, pitched 3 clean innings to close the game out. Just because, again, I didn't really want to, burn through a bunch of relievers. Figured we just let him cruise through to finish off the game. And that was the series. And now we will go ahead and face the other wild card team in the Arizona Diamondbacks, who finished third in the AL West. Who did they actually beat here? It must have been the Dodgers, probably. Yeah, they beat the Dodgers 3-1 after sweeping the Orioles 2-0. Over here, we do have the 2 teams with byes winning. The Cardinals and the Nationals both win. Oh, the Nationals came back. The Phillies won one of the games in this series 20-4. But yeah, let's go ahead and take a look at Arizona. So 4th in runs scored, 5th in runs against. Pretty balanced team, it looks like. No major injuries. Nate Lowe looks like was their starting first baseman, or maybe DH, 104 games. Wasn't super good, it looks like. So maybe he was their DH, because Franchi Cordero looks like, yeah, it's not a lot of games played. So Robert Poisson is their probably best player. Very good second baseman. Looks like a little bit down year with the bat for him, at least compared to what he did last year, but pretty good glove at second base. Last year's Rookie of the Year, Juan Gomez, did pretty much the same type of thing. Looks like he dealt with an injury a little bit. Oh yeah, that's right. It's like, oh, he had a lot of injuries this year. 5 weeks with a fractured foot, 3 weeks with a torn thumb ligament, knee injury. Okay, he's not fragile yet, but I mean, this would be concerning to me, where it's not like he would be somebody I would be unwilling to lock up for a player who's been this good. I mean, 8.5 WAR already in his major league career at the age of 24. But this is a lot of injuries that are almost all of them week plus injuries. So that's something to be aware of for them, I think. But he had a very good year. Looks like Colby Mayo. Yeah, I mean, just this type of profile that when it hits, it turns into pretty good players. 26 homers. Looks like he had a pretty good year. Alec Thomas is one of their better prospects in real life. Looks like is having a pretty good year for them. 3.3 WAR. I'm guessing that's pretty good defense. No, not very good defense. I don't know why this is 3.5 WAR then. Like 10% above league average. Not sure about that. Corbin Carroll looks like he had a pretty good year. This is one more year of arbitration. That means they were really slow with him, which is a little surprising to see. But another pretty decent hitter. Looks like that's split, or 3 lefties, a switch hitter, and a righty. Nick Ahmed is mostly defense. Cameron Davis is a 2024 first-round pick. Like he made his major league debut this year to pretty decent success. 1.8 WAR in only 53 games. Pretty good year. 70 range in center field. So yeah, looks like it's a decent hitting team. We're definitely going to get more use out of Nardi and Mazzucato in this series, with this top of the lineup being the triple lefty against our right-handed starters. And let's see, what is his splits? Looks like you'd prefer to throw a righty against him. But, I mean, I'm not super worried about throwing Nardi against right-handers. So, yeah, I mean, I definitely think we're going to see some situations where it's going to have to be this... like, Nardi's going to be really important in this series. Both Nardi and Mazzucato are going to have good series for us, getting out these 3 guys that were 3 of their best hitters to win this. Pitching wise, Looks like a little bit of some issues here. No starter ERA sub 4. Avery Short, Zach Eflin, Kyle Wright, Johan Oviedo. So it's full righties, which means that it will be Collier getting the starts for us in this one. And hopefully he can have another good series. I think they do have, or wait, no, Avery Short's a lefty. I'm just looking here. I keep looking at the batting one for whatever reason. And then out of the bullpen, it looks like they do have the two lefties in Soto and Tommy Henry, who looks like both just a pretty decent amount. I'm surprised they've stuck with Bautista as their closer. 5.83 ERA. Yeah, he's got 36 saves, but that's rough. Like Brooks Wilson, Sean Burke. I mean, I would not be running out a bullpen like this. I'd probably be using Reinhardt and Soto more at the back of this. Oh, hey, Ryan Presley is here. That's fun. Yeah, the stuff has came way down for him. Looks like he's become more of a ground ball control pitcher who was very good for them this year. Wow. Looks like they got him from Toronto at the deadline. Been a couple years since we've had him. I think 25 was when he was when the World Series with us was All-Star in 26. Philadelphia. So that's fun to see him show back up here. But yeah, I mean, obviously they're at this point, so we can't take them too lightly, but they are the number 6 seed. So again, I think this is a series that we should be pretty big favorites in. And yeah, I mean, we have, I think, the lefties in our bullpen to match up with Carroll, Thomas, Gomez. And we get to run out our rotation the way that we want to with Burns, Gomez, Sanchez, and kind of see where we go from there. So I will be back shortly with the results of that series. And we are back after the Arizona Diamondbacks series, which, quite frankly, we imploded. This was awful. I don't really have too much more to say other than that. Really, we set the trend here in this first game of the first inning being brutal to us. Of first batter gets on in the series, and then Alex Thomas hits a home run, and we're just fighting to get back afterwards. Couldn't do much against Avery Short in this really entire series. Not a lot here. We only get 6 hits in this game, 3 of them from Miranda. Burns mostly settles down after giving up the 2-run shot in the first inning, but really not an elite start for him. Couldn't really get anything going on offense either. Bautista completely shuts us down in the 8th and 9th. And this was, unfortunately, one of the better games we played. We go into game 2, and we just continue to give up lots of runs. The bullpen was not good. So Gomez here was kind of fine, I guess. Like, not great, but not terrible either, I guess. Mazzucato, Nardi both got hit. We couldn't get the lefties at the top of the order out. I remember saying that this was going to be the deciding factor, and you can see here those 3 lefties at the top of the order combined for 8 hits. And just can't have that. Collier does hit a home run for us. And then I think and then Atrian, and we got a couple back in the 9th, but I mean the game was 8-1 at that point, so didn't really matter. Game 3 kind of more of the same. Grand slam that we give up here, where we had a 2-1 lead, give up 6 in the 5th. Really just the bullpen was not good in this series. Sanchez was doing fine until he gave up the grand slam. Yeah, he hit 3 guys, I think, in this game. No, he hit 2, walked a couple more. It was rough because he was kind of cruising, but then just that 5th inning was just awful. Couldn't do much to right here. And then we actually lose back-to-back games. Oh no, this was the one we just looked at. Yeah, back-to-back games 8-3. Our offense finally shows up in game 4. We get 17 hits. We knock around their starter, knock around the bullpen. Marquez was awful, but the rest of our bullpen actually did their jobs in this game. Really the only one in which they did so. This was the only game that we played well at all, and we still gave up 4 runs. And then we got blown out 8-1 in game 5. Well, Burns was rough. Pretty much everybody that pitched in this game was not sharp at all. And Corbin Carroll murdered us again. Yeah, I mean, you can see right here, 476, hit a 3-run bomb in this one. For as good as our pitching staff was all year, we gave up 11, 19, 23, 31 runs in 5 games in this series. And the offense was not great either, but you can't give up 31 runs in 5 games and expect to win a series like that. You can't do it. So our 107 win season ends in the ALCS, which at least we can say that it was in fact to the World Series winners after the Diamondbacks beat the Nationals in 7 games. So back-to-back World Series appearances for the Nationals, back-to-back losses for them. So that'll be interesting to see if there's any changes that they look to make. And then our offseason now will be in the next video, but really I think the big thing that I want to talk about real quick in the end of the playoffs thing is there's just so many question marks about what I need to do with Carlos Correa. Because I can't play him at shortstop anymore. I kind of let him finish out the year in a little bit of... And what I think is what would happen in real life would be that he would get to finish out the year as the shortstop, and then it would be the next years when there would be stuff that would start to change. So I think what will likely happen here is that we're going to have 2 more years with Correa at $35 million. He's not tradable. I don't really think it makes sense to cut him either, because I think he's fine as far as a decent enough right-handed bat. Probably still play second and third okay. We'll try to get him some reps there in spring training. And yeah, we'll go from there, see what we decide to do for shortstop. Shortstop and center field now both become question marks. After being something that we've been in really good shape in for most of this series at those 2 very important positions, now we're big question marks. What do we do with Corbin Burns is a question mark. Honestly, Marquez to me kind of is too. Of the fact that he's got 2 more years left on the deal. Wasn't super good this year in terms of actual results, but the FIP is one of the better results we've had from him. Wasn't super good in his 1 playoff start. So, lots of questions this offseason that we'll have to find answers to. What do we do with Karinchak? So that will be the next episode. We're going to start to see some turnover now. We've kind of had this core for a pretty good period of time, and we've been pretty successful with it. With the Correa, Lewis, Buxton up the middle, it's probably only Royce that's back next year as a full-time starter. So that's unfortunately it for this playoff episode. Not the result that we wanted. Very much feels like the Dodgers of this year of being by far the best regular season team, but just have that one series that goes poorly. I think that my record against them was even pretty good. I mean, into it, yeah, like I went 6-3 against them in the regular season. They were 3rd place in the division. But hey, that's playoff baseball. Sometimes that happens. Not something that's happened a ton to us in this series, but hey. Hope you guys have a good rest of your day, and I'll catch you in the next one. Bye.